Welcome back. I'm in conversation with this person who has an amazing voice and an amazing sense of humor. I remember all our rehearsal sessions, Ram always has something witty and full of puns and all of that. It's delightful working with you, Ram.
Yeah, it's nice to be a pundit sometimes.
Pundit, yeah.
Right.
Now, about doing voiceovers,
Yeah.
you've been saying that there are a lot of opportunities in the field, but people don't know how to go about it, or they don't persevere enough.
Yeah. I'll qualify that by saying that tremendous opportunities for voiceovers. Everybody who wants to say something is making a film, whether it's a corporate film or a computer-based teaching exercise or heritage films or children's talking books. Very strangely, Anu, it is, for reasons I cannot fathom, a male-dominated field. I do not know why, but that's what it has been for some time, for quite some time. It's so in Mumbai, I understand it's so here. And these are the two major centers where this voice is being done. But for men, there is a lot of work. And a lot of people are not in this field because they think the voice is everything. Mm-hmm. You need to have a halfway decent voice, a mic-friendly voice. That is important. You don't have to sound like Amitabh Bachchan all the time. It's about diction, it's about clarity, it's about empathy. You're sometimes talking to tire dealers, you're talking to mechanics, you're talking to corporate executives, you're talking to hospital administrators or to children. You must know who is at the other end of the scale listening to what you're saying. And unless you have the modulation and the ability to reach them, merely having a good voice doesn't help.
You know, when I was doing my research on you, there's this Oscar that's given out to corporate films. And one of the jury members says that you were given the Lifetime Award because you make different sorts of documentaries sound alike, which I thought, which did not make sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Because
maybe he probably meant something else. In fact, the ability is to make them sound different. Exactly, I mean, you can't read a children's talking book script the same way as you read a corporate script for company executives or a training manual. There are training manuals which are, you know, very nuts and bolts kind of thing. You can't read it like a story. The ability to reach that kind of audience is, I believe, what makes a voiceover professional as we are called. So
do you exercise every day? Do you do voice exercises like how we do in theatre before we start rehearsals?
Well, yes, a certain basic pranayama exercise that I do, breathing.
I know that you don't drink cold water, you don't
No, I don't
eat,
have ice cream.
You don't eat.
Yeah, it also helps that I don't like ice cream. But yeah, like an athlete has to look after his food, I have to look after my voice. And mics are unforgiving creatures, you know. The moment your voice is not up to par, the mic will pick it all up and amplify it. Like it amplifies the nice things in your voice. It's like chemotherapy, you know. It kills all the cells. It's not selective.
It's not selective.
The hair cells fall out when chemotherapy, while it kills the cancerous cells. Similarly, the mic picks up good things in your voice, and if there are not so good things, it will amplify them too. So you have to be careful about the voice. You have to be careful about what you read, and you can't give editors nightmares. You know, you make so many mistakes that they have to, you know, spend hours correcting it. So it's not really so much the voice; it's the modulation, the diction, and the ability to read. Sometimes you have to read for an hour and a half, 100 pages, 140 pages.
You've just done something now.
For 140 pages, you know, which is about valves. No, you have to whip up enough interest because there's obviously somebody at the other end who's listening to this with interest.
Now, are there schools here, training institutes where you can go and learn how to use your voice?
Not to my knowledge. I'm sure there are some people who do work. There are people I know who do work with theatre voice, voice for theatre. We ourselves in the Madras Players do conduct workshops, and part of that workshop is how to use your voice on stage, which is a different ball game.
So I would imagine that someone like you would set up an institute. Do you ever have plans to do so?
I'm a very poor teacher. As I said, I could never direct a play, and I don't believe I can teach anybody anything.
And when you say it's difficult to, because you've done so much theatre now, I would think that you'd be able to see it all before you when you read a script. Because you do, you know, I must say you do teach people, because when we rehearse...
Yeah, I see it in terms of the character that I'm playing, and I try to share some of the theatre dynamics with people to help them.
Yeah, like you tell us how to move and
Yeah, that's correct.
yeah,
But that's basically from what I have discovered by trial and error, falling flat on my face. But to look at a total play and see this is how the play is going to look in the end is not a skill that I believe I possess. And I envy people enormously who possess this. Even very young people like Nikhila or Aruna were able to look at a play in its totality, look at all the characters in a kind of kaleidoscope, and place them properly and develop it. I don't have it.
Well, I have to take your word for it.
No, I'm sure.
Because I've observed that when we rehearse, you say some very, you don't say them very often, but when you say them, it makes such an impact that I have emulated you and learned
No,
a
I can
lot
tell
from
you as an actor what has worked for me in terms of moving from point A to point B on stage. I can tell you, for instance, you never move in a straight line. You move in a somewhat of an arc. And you don't move 2 feet, you don't take 2 steps or 3 steps, but 2.5 and 3.5 to get to that point. I can tell you what you must do with your voice to be heard by the deaf old lady in the last row. How you have to project your voice on stage. But that's all, they're all individual things. You're talking about visualizing the play as a whole and directing it. I stop short.
Well, we have so much to talk about actually, because we didn't talk about the Madras players at all, but let's save that for another.
Right, we'll save it for a rainy day.
Yeah,
and God knows we need it. The rainy day, I mean.
Too. Thanks very much, Ram, for
Thank you,
joining
Anu.
us.
A pleasure talking with you, as always.
Thank you.